Hello, so I've decided for the video where I'm going over the magazine information, such as information related to the new Nahobino Form and the big interview that's published in that magazine, because I'm going over a rough translation and making commentary on it, and it ended up being a lot longer than I thought it'd be. I'm actually making this a separate video, and I will not be tacking this onto the video with the when I'm discussing the launch trailer and the title loop. So this will be a completely separate video. So I am leaving this note here at the end of the title loop and launch trailer discussion video, and then I will put this will be, of course, at the beginning of the magazine information discussion video as well. Okay, so I'll be reading off rough translations on a few pages taken from a certain gaming magazine that was released recently that is doing coverage for SMTVV Vengeance. I'm mostly going to be reading stuff on the pages that have to do with the new Nahobino Form and any stuff, like any extra things tied to that, and then the main interview that was posted along with the game coverage as well. So on the page for the new Nahobino Form, it says, "In the Goddess of Vengeance route, a new Nahobino Form appears. In this work, a Nahobino appears with a completely new atmosphere, or vibe, or aura. Different from the previous blue form. There's a scene where you see the character moving through Shakan, but what events lead to this transformation? That mystery will be revealed in the latter half of the story." So as a page that shows the, different shots of the new Nahobino Form and the concept art, and then there's a screenshot that shows like the essence fusion as well. So this is like there's like a few things here. A mysterious figure with a concealed face. The protagonist Nahobino has transformed into a mysterious figure with the lower half of the face covered by armor. Seems like this appearance will only be seen in the Vengeance route. And they have like a side thing here that mentions in this work, elements such as essence fusion are also present. Abilities and skills do not change with the transform appearance. Now, I noticed some people were talking about this specifically and using it as a way to try and theorize how the new Nahobino Form comes about. But it seems like they're basically treating this form just like the previous Nahobino Form. So it's like, you're getting your second Nahobino Form. It's being treated in the same way, where despite your appearance, like even if you're like with the previous Nahobino Form, you're fused with Algami, right? And yet you can still do essence fusion with other demons, and that does not influence your appearance. So people are like, oh, okay, well, if you're doing let's say if the theory is that you did an essence fusion with Tsukiyomi to obtain this form and it changed your appearance, then why doesn't essence fusion with other demons change your form generally? But I think that's why, like I said, my theory is, there's a few theories, like, either he gets, some people say, oh, he's just getting infused with Tsukuyomi, and maybe like a mass amount of Tsukuyomi's essence that changes his appearance. Or, my theory is that he physically fuses with Tsukuyomi because Tsukuyomi is a protophene like his brother Algami. Algami's based on Tsukuyomi, so it made sense to me that he would fuse with Tsukuyomi. And Tsukuyomi's, because he's a protophene, it would basically be treated like he's Algami too. And so the new form that you're getting is it's going to be treated gameplay-wise, it's going to be treated as if it's just your second Nahobino Form. And so you would be, even though you get special abilities, like in skills tied to that form, you're still going to be able to do essence fusion with other demons like the previous Nahobino Form, for what I understand. I might be wrong, but we'll have to see how that works out. It says differences in the new appearance. Size of the body hasn't changed. Yeah, he's still his, just like with the fusion with Algami, he's not a massive bulk like Algami. The size is similar to the human form of the protagonist. It says the overall form isn't significantly different, but there are differences in the design and coloring of the armor, hairstyle, and even a scythe-like curved blade extending from the right hand. Okay, there's a page that shows the new Nahobino Form with various screenshots of the form exploring Shakan. So it's got a little tidbit on Shakan. I'm not going to really talk about the other stuff on the same page because it's just... most of this is just talking about gameplay elements in like the quests and certain creatures that you meet that we already know. I'm interested in the Shakan stuff though. This is Bethel Sanctuary of Shakan, which is this is a place in Dot. Deep in Shinjuku, a new dungeon called the Sanctuary of Shakan appears. This place, with its solemn atmosphere and vast indoor space, has been Bethel's secret holy ground and is considered a forbidden area. Accordingly, as the protagonist progresses through the dungeon, he will encounter mechanisms like the inversion of heaven and earth, and angels protecting the sacred site, making the journey arduous. What awaits beyond the extremely guarded security? And, of course, we will find out when we get to that part of the game. It's a very interesting looking place and should be, I hope it will be fun and challenging to explore. And then I'm going to go over the main interview now with, this is an interview with director Shigeo Komori, who played a central role in the development following Shin Megami Tensei 5, the character designer Masayuki Doi, and the sound composer Ryota Kozuka. And the interview says, we asked them about the dedication and details put into this work. There are no spoilers in the scenario, so please read this to increase your anticipation as the release approaches. Now, because this is roughly translated, I'm just going to try and read this and comment on best I can. Because I will not be showing the actual pages, I will just include relevant screenshots, like with the other stuff I was just reading. Just to kind of give like some visual accompaniment with it. Let's see. Now all these it has different like sections here, and each of them are conducted with the different with like Komori, Doi, and Kozuka separately, and they're all sort of like they have headers as well. So I'll be reading the headers, which is kind of like organize it, I guess, as I'm talking about it. It starts with incorporating truly various new elements. Okay, I apologize if this is like with the translation. I could have went through the rough translation and just tried to like retype everything to make it sound proper, but it is what it is. Let's see, the release date for this work is finally approaching. This is coming from so I'm just gonna say this is coming from the interviewer. The release date for this work is finally approaching. How do you feel about the reactions from users since the announcement? Komori says, right after the announcement, fans reacted with, a new game is coming out, and the speed and enthusiasm of the responses were impressive. Even as we released more information afterwards, their anticipation seemed to grow, which was very gratifying. It's funny because, like, there are rumors about the release of something related to SMT5 for a while. First, it was like rumors of just a PC port or a multi-system port, and then a rumor came out that a new work related to SMT5 is working on, and that was released like way back. I remember hearing about that. And I was like, I think people may have been thinking they were going to do something Apocalypse, like SMT4 Apocalypse like with the story. That was the theory when the announcement came out. And then Doi, okay, so I guess there's multiple people that are commenting. It's not just with one person. Doi says, we received various reactions, including joy and surprise towards the new characters and demons introduced in this work. And I was honestly very happy about that. And the interviewer asked, what was the policy behind the planning and development of this work? Komori says, first we thought about how to make it enjoyable again for those who have already played Shin Megami Tensei 5. However, incorporating only new elements could make the game more complex and difficult for those those who are new to the world of Shin Megami Tensei 5. Balancing this aspect was a challenge, because of course not only did they incorporate an entirely new story and adding like 80 hours to the game, but they redid a lot of the gameplay elements of the game as well. So they have a new story, a ton of new gameplay elements. They released a video basically outlining like 50 changes. I think even in this interview, Kimura says that there's still stuff that they didn't even mention. There are other like more minor changes that they didn't even cover. So there's a lot that was changed. Interviewer says, in addition to new elements, there are also many detailed improvements related to the game pace and operability, right? Or functionality. Komori says, yes, based on the reactions from those who played Shin Megami Tensei 5, we incorporated as many improvements as possible suggested by the staff. For example, we made the trail of light left by the quest navigator more visible to make it easier to find. That's something I don't think they actually mentioned the 50 gameplay improvements. So yeah, something like that. There's like so many little minor adjustments that they did too that was not covered before. We also reviewed the probability of initiating preemptive attacks when striking enemies from behind, and the damage correction based on the level difference between the player and enemies in battle. That was like one major complaint that I was seeing about people were talking about rubber banding with the levels, like the level difference. How if you were only like 5 levels below or 10 levels below, I think it was 5, that you could barely. It seemed like you could barely do damage. Now, I didn't encounter that problem quite as much in my playthrough of SMT5. Like, I think the only time I noticed a difficulty with the level stuff, and where I had to, like, grind up and come back to a battle, was with Ammon, specifically. Like, Ammon kicked my ass. And I had to come back later, and, like, after gaining some levels, maybe with Kansu... But Kansu Raw, and I think with Kansu Raw specifically, I just had to like redo my build, my party, and stuff like that, and come back with a few more levels. So it didn't hurt me quite as much. I didn't notice it quite as much compared to other people, but I don't know. Everyone plays differently, so it may have, depending on like the build and the demons and everything, it may have been more noticeable. Let's see. Interviewer says, regarding the damage correction, I did feel that in 5 it was tough to deal significant damage to higher level enemies. However, in this work, even at lower levels, there seems to be more hope that you can manage to defeat them with some ingenuity. It is interesting. I want to say that's probably... I don't know if anyone's done any speedrunning. Like I know RPG speedrunning is a thing that does exist, and some people use exploits and like... tool-assisted stuff to get through it without playing the game in the proper way. And there are people who do play the game the proper way, but use certain tactics to get through the game very quickly. Certain strategies. I wonder if anyone's tried to speedrun Vanilla 5, and imagine because of this level problem, if it would have caused an issue with speedrunning. So now that they've adjusted it, I imagine speedrunning a game where you can defeat, if you have everything built properly for it, that you'd be able to go up to very difficult enemies and be able to like take them down, which would probably help with speedrunning in the game, because you can encounter higher level demons right away. Like, it is very risky to try and battle them, but you can encounter higher level stuff like right away in the game. Let's see. Also, it seems that the behavior of demons like Jin and Anzu, who attack from the sky, have changed compared to before. Jin, was there Jin? I don't know if that translated that correctly. Jin are I don't know what Jin is referring to. I know the Anzu in that one area in like past Ginza. Was it in the Ginza area? Or somewhere past there, the Anzu was a major complaint. There are a massive amount of Anzu around that area, and it's very annoying to navigate. They're constantly, it's just like, seem very difficult to get around them, even if you're like running away. Even if you have the ability to run really fast and jump around, those fuckers were like mosquitoes on you. And that was a complaint by I've seen by Western and Japanese players. Another demon that I noticed that was kind of annoying in that area too was the Macabre. macabre, those things would like randomly pop up too, and they were annoying. You could kind of like jump over them though if you remember the area that they pop up, so maybe they're not too bad. Komori says, yes, we adjusted that. The unreasonable risk of being ambushed from a blind spot should be reduced. Additionally, there are many other detailed adjustments that we haven't specifically mentioned before, such as the Demon Compendium retrieval and Demon Fusion behaviors to make the game more comfortable to play. Interviewer says, adding unique skills to all the demons is a significant change, isn't it? Komori says, I think this element will feel especially fresh to those who enjoy carefully considering their party composition. So yeah, now we will spend even longer in menus. I don't know. That's something I really like. It's not for everyone, but the fusion, they call it the fusion autism, but, spending a long time, finally crafting your demon party and, like, getting the right skills that you want to create, like, the perfect build for each of those demons. And now, and I don't know if, like, maybe there are people who don't want this and would prefer it be, like, not to have certain skills on demons by default, but it might allow... I think, like, with certain unique skills, if the demons come with unique skills, it might encourage you to also keep them in your party longer instead of getting rid of them, abusing them in another higher level demon. I know it would probably, like, help me, too, because I had a problem, and this is an issue even in, like... I've been playing SMT1. I think even in like Nocturne, every SMT game I've played, I've had this issue where I'm carrying certain demons around for a very long time, even if they're lower level, because there might be a certain aspect. Either I'm waiting to fuse them into a certain demon that I really want, and I'm not just wanting to like, I'm not just going to fuse them into anything just to have a higher level demon in my party. Maybe I keep them in my party so I can get a very specific demon that I want for its build. And I think if some of the lower level demons come with unique skills, that might encourage me to be like, oh well, yeah, I have no problem still keeping them in my party before I fuse them, because I want to make use of this unique skill. Now I have more of an excuse to keep them in my party for longer. I want to say on a side note, when they were doing this demon popularity poll or something like that, the Japanese side of things, and you could vote or post on Twitter what your favorite demon is to get it into the poll. And I want to see, like, I know I like, I have a lot of favorite demons I like, but if there was one specific demon that I've always found use of, like it's either a slightly earlier game demon or mid game demon, like, where you encounter it a little bit later in the game, but Shiki Oji has always been a favorite of mine to utilize, and I know in 5 it's usually like a fizz dark light kind of, it gets like physical skills, it gets dark light skills, I think it gets some like ailment and support skills. It's always been really useful to me. So even in 5, I used the essence fusion of it. It was really good for a very long time until I switched that out. If you can get around, even in like Nocturne and other games I've used it in, if you can just get like something to null its fire weakness, it's a really good demon. It's always been a favorite of mine. So I was voting for Shiki-Oji. That is my, like, if I had a demon partner, it would probably be Shiki-Oji. That would be mine. So I don't know if they've, like, covered Shiki-Oji. Maybe they have on the Demon Compendium stuff when they're making the videos, but I'm kind of curious what the unique skill for Shiki-Oji would be. There's actually, Shiki-Oji isn't the only, like, Onmyoji summon-based demon either. I think, Inokami, there's Inokami and Makami, which I actually really like those two as well. And, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if they'll get, like, a team-up attack like some of the other demons are getting, because that's a mechanic, too, is you'll be getting, team-up attacks with specific demons. So it would be cool to see, like, Shiki-Oji with, like, Makami, or Inugami, and, I don't know if they added another one. There's gotta be, like, another, a demon like that would, be teamed up with them. Let's see. I'm gonna head to the next page now. So Komori also says, depending on the combination of other skills and allies, you may discover unexpected synergistic effects. If you can use them well, there might be moments where it feels like you're using a cheat. Also, demons that didn't have much chance to shine in Shin Megami Tensei 5 might have useful, unique skills now, so I hope you pay attention to various demons. Interviewer asks, do you have any recommended methods for finding powerful skill combinations? Komori says, unique skills are designed to create combos more easily when combined with existing skills and the Magatsuhi skills. For skills with slightly difficult activation conditions, but high effects, it might be easier to find useful combinations by looking at how you alleviate those conditions with other skills. For example, combining a skill that prevents the sleep state from being lifted with a skill that increases power when the enemy is asleep can be very effective. If the boss can be put to sleep, it's worth trying. Yeah, that'll be very cool. I can't wait to try poison. I always like poison skills and poison boosting skills in RPGs, and SMTs have some demons that have very good, like, ailment causing skills, especially with poison. Even, like, there are fizz demons that also get boosted attacks based on whether, like, an enemy is poison or not, and then they can cause, like, increased poison. So I'm kind of very curious what combinations certain demons will have and unique skills to have, like, a poison build. It's not something I really, like, did too much of in like 5. There are demons that are specialized for it, but I think I want to, like, try it out for some of the later demons that you get. Because a poison can be, like, really good. Poison fizz type of deal. Interview says, I see. These various adjustments are applied not only in the vengeance route, but also in the creation route as well. Komori says, yes, they are applied in both. In terms of the scenario content, you can start with either one, so feel free to play whichever you prefer. Interviewer asks, regarding demons, there is a new feature called Demon's Backyard. And they have some interesting stuff regarding how they figured, you know, what exactly motivated them to create this Demon's Backyard feature in Vengeance. Komori says the variety of conversations you can enjoy in the Demon's Backyard is also abundant, which is likely to attract the attention of fans. In the Demon's Backyard, we have prepared various speech patterns, and for particularly unique or popular demons, we've added special lines. Additionally, you can have conversations with Agami, of course on the bench that you can visit, and guest human characters, allowing you to catch glimpses of their inner thoughts that were not revealed during the main story. This should deepen your understanding and affection for them. Then Doi says, originally, the idea for the Demon's Backyard came from the desire to let the players thoroughly appreciate the high-quality 3D models of the demons in Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I find interesting because you can go into, I think, like the status screen for the demons when you're viewing, where you can view the lore for them. I think you can, like, rotate them around. I know this is a thing in other games, but because the game was on the Switch, there's only so much you could view. Maybe on the Switch, so I can see where he's coming from. Then we thought, if there's such a place, we'd want to have conversations there too. The staff were very enthusiastic about creating this feature, which made us realize that everyone really wants to appreciate the demons. I also think it's a popular feature generally in, like, monster games, and any sort of monster collecting game, and this is something that Pokemon started doing too. With the more modern 3D entries, and this is not a new thing either. Like Monster Rancher did this, Digimon did this in some of the games, but having, like, sort of a ranch or a park space where your monsters, like, just run around and you can talk to them and do things with them and give them gifts, it's a very popular feature. I think, like, all monster games should have that, you know, where you can actually just sort of, like, spend time with your monsters and not just always running around and having them in battle. I think it's a very good feature to have. Let's see. Interviewer says, exactly, there are allies. Speaking of appreciating demons, in this work, he brings up the Quest Navigator demons, which they've added many more Quest Navigator demons. You can also like take, become the demons for a bit during quests and like run around as them, but there's also like new navigator demons that they added as well. Let's see, the number of quest navigator demons has also increased significantly, hasn't it? Komori says, compared to the previous game, it's almost tripled, specifically to a total of 17. Initially, we added characters like Moshivu and Alice, but some staff members asked, is it okay to only have cute demons? After some discussions, we decided to add other types like Ippon Tatar. Okay, Ippon Tatar is another favorite demon of mine, but only because he sounds like he's orgasmically screaming when he makes sounds, so that will be fucking amazing to have. Oh man, to have as a navigator demon. I love Ippon Tatar a lot. They also added Mermaid. I saw, I didn't want to spoil myself too much on, there's a lot of new footage coming out, a lot of gameplay footage, and I saw someone post the Mermaid Navigator, and the way she swims through the ground, it's just like, I fell in love so much. It's so, I was like, oh my god, it's so, I love the Mermaid Navigator. I can't wait to have that one, to be able to run around with the Mermaid. I do like Mermaid as well. Mermaid is great. Interviewer says, it seems that the Love for Demons has expanded various elements. The new field gimmick, Magatsuro, so this is the Magatsui, like, rail line that you can ride, that they added in the game, can sometimes be discovered by the Quest Navigator, but could you share some exploration tips unique to this game? Komori says, as you get used to exploring, you might rely more on the mini-map to navigate the field. However, doing so might cause you to miss potential spots. While the mini-map is convenient, you'll need to also look at the field and Quest Navigator with your own eyes to notice things like there might be Magatsuro here. Or the Magatsuri rail line that you can ride. Doi says the elevated perspective view that allows you to look over the field is also convenient. Yes, I'm glad they added this feature because it's one thing that I had a complaint with, especially in certain areas. Ginza is a really problematic place, in my opinion. In the original version of 5, I got lost a lot. It was hard to figure out where I was supposed to go, and the map did not help with that. So having something that actually reflects the verticality of those areas is really nice. The new Shinjuku Dot area that you will explore in this game is quite vast, and new demons and events await you in various parts of each part of Dot. The staff used the full development period to pack in these elements, so we hope you thoroughly enjoy them. Okay, so they're going to talk about story on this page here. Dark and Bitter, the aim and highlights of the new scenario. So the interviewer asks, or says, let's talk about the scenario. The newly prepared Goddess of Revenge arc, or basically the Vengeance route, in this work is as voluminous as the Goddess of Creation. So they're saying it's pretty substantial. The Vengeance arc seems pretty substantial in terms of story and the amount of time you spend in it, quite as much as the Creation route in Shin Megami Tensei 5. What is the aim of this new scenario of such a scale? And of course, they can't really spoil too much, so they're not gonna explain it in too much detail here. Komori says, Shin Megami Tensei 5 was indeed a creation story about what kind of world the protagonists would create through their actions. The reason for making revenge the theme of the new scenario in this work is to raise questions about the very system of creation, and also to explore the revenge aspect in the relationship between the Bull God and the Serpent God, which was hinted at in Shin Megami Tensei 5. Yeah, it very vaguely hinted at. Interviewer says the Bull God and Serpent God were not prominently featured in the Goddess of Creation arc. Yeah, they actually, in terms of, you do encounter snake gods and goddesses, but I don't think they're really highlighted. I mean, if you count, like, the whole thing with Nua. But, in terms of the Bull God stuff, the only thing related to that I can think of is you encountering Bull Gods that want to take away the knowledge that the protagonist has while you're fused to Aogami as a Nahobino, and maybe the fact that the creation goddess, the thing that Tao becomes, has bull horns, to symbolize bull gods. But that's all I can really think of there. And Aogami being a bull god, or having the essence of a bull god, you having the knowledge of a bull god, but it's not something they really touch on quite as much as they're doing here. Komori says, after releasing Shin Megami Tensei 5, as we discussed what to create next, the team felt a strong desire to emphasize the dark elements inherent in the Megaten series. By focusing on the conflict between the oppressed and the oppressors, we believe we could pursue a direction we wanted to express. Compared to the other version of the game, Doi says Shin V had multiple endings, but from the perspective of the essential Megaten concepts of law, neutral, and chaos, I personally felt that all the endings were in a sense law. Yeah, it's weird because some people feel like they're all chaos leaning. That is, let's see, he says that they were like different routes with the law spectrum, leaning more towards a law or neutral. I guess the reason why some people may say the law, because if you think about the World of Order ending for 5, some people may say like the way Abdiel becomes fallen in order to exert like what God intended is more of a chaotic way of doing law, but I guess it's not like as bad. Like if the Nahobino, the version of law that they show for the law, it's not quite as bad as the way it's depicted in other games. It's not as the law, and that's not as brutal as all. Even though Abdiel like becomes a demon to enforce that, all you're really doing is just like keeping the status quo, like basically keeping the world the way it was, and just like keeping people ignorant, but letting them go about their daily lives. But as long as they like respect God. And like, don't cause trouble. That's basically it. And of course you'd probably be, demons come up and cause trouble. You'd probably eliminate them, but keep around, there's the possibility of keeping like the good demons around, that help, establish God's order. It seemed like the law route wasn't really that bad. I still didn't like choose it, but it's not as bad as it's the law route in, other games. If we look at neutral, of course, there's like, it's funny because like the regular neutral route for the game was destroying the throne and letting people like fight for themselves and letting shit just like go down the letting things just continue to degrade. A lot of people said that they felt like that was more chaotic, that felt like more of a chaotic ending. You have true neutral, which is definitely neutral. It's letting things like it's eliminating the demons, and making the world of humans. But it doesn't really stop bad things from eventually happening. And then you have the Myriad of Gods, which is supposed to be the chaos. Would be considered the chaos rep ending, but you're still like. You're still allowing gods to be put in a place where they can govern over humans. So it's not exactly like what Lucifer would have wanted. Like, yeah, you're allowing gods to roam around again and like, in their respective territories to govern over humans again. And, there would probably be war because of that, because of differences. That's what they mention is because of differences between different factions. There would be war, and of course the Nahobino is sad about that if he's put in place as the ruler, because he just, for some reason, is not able to prevent that. I guess it's not quite what Lucifer would have wanted, so maybe it still feels like a law-leaning chaos or some shit like that. I don't know. Let's see, there were like different routes within the law spectrum leaning more towards law or neutral. In that regard, the Goddess of Revenge arc has stronger chaos elements, offering a dark and bitter development true to this work's nature, which I think players will enjoy. Let's see, interviewer says Chaos Online fans shouldn't miss this. So, my guess is like, instead of things being geared towards taking a throne, putting gods in place to govern, whether it be a monotheistic god or a polytheistic gods being put to govern things, or choosing to just eliminate everyone and have things only to humans, I have a feeling the endings are probably going to be strongly leaning towards pro-demon, which is, I think that's more interesting. It'll be interesting to see. It could be either an incredibly brutal, could be, there's always a chance like humans get eliminated instead, and you know, demons are allowed to roam, or things are taken back to a chaotic era before all the shit went down in 5, way back to the beginning. I don't know what else they can pull. Maybe a human, like, an ideal world where humans and demons somehow are able to get together. Yeah, a Digimon world. That's what I imagine. Maybe they'll have a Digimon ending where humans and demons work together to protect the world and be on the same level. Like, instead of them becoming gods or Nahobino and like governing and pushing their role, maybe there's an ending where they're kind of like where they're kind of like treated like Digimon, where people end up partnering with demons and fighting alongside them. Everything like that. Doi says, of course, the Goddess of Revengeance arc is not just purely chaos-driven. As a multifaceted development, from the initial planning stages, we had extensive discussions with Komori about the direction of the scenario and which new demons would be appropriate to introduce. Interviewer says, when it comes to new demons, I think the Qaditsu is a prime example. What were you particularly conscious of when designing them? Doi says, not just for the Qaditsu, but since Shin V had the overarching theme of asceticism, or how do you pronounce that? Asceticism? It's basically like it's a Japanese specific, when they mention the aestheticism in regards to this work, it's a Japanese specific asceticism, so it's basically regarding the art and beauty of specific designs. A Japanese, certain Japanese themed, it's basically Japanese themed asceticism. It's a type of asceticism that has a certain philosophy behind it. This is why the protagonist uniforms have floral patterns, and Nahobino has a somewhat feminine aura. For the Qaditsu, we wanted to highlight their asceticism by incorporating a mix of beauty and acidity, deliberately adding some ugly parts to their bodies to enhance this asceticism. I know before he mentioned that, Nama is a good example of this, where she has like a demon half and a more like a beautiful half. And his thing was like, part of her would be attractive to like humans and angels perhaps, but then like the demon half would be maybe what demons would consider attractive. So she has like an ugly half and a beautiful half. And that whole like half-half thing reminds me, when I looked up some of the philosophies behind Japanese asceticism is interesting, a lot of asymmetry. And I noticed that that's a thing in the protagonist design too, with both the Nahobino form and the human form, where one half is like not the same as the other half. So both halves, the different halves of the body are designed differently. Like, for example, the protagonist's hair is asymmetrical, the uniforms are asymmetrical, the Nahobino's bodysuit is asymmetrical. So this is like one of the philosophies of that particular asceticism. See, interviewer says, I see, so not just purely beautiful. Doi says, in the design process, we first thought of the general appearance of each character, and then considered their position and relationships within the Qaditsu while refining the details. Agarat was particularly difficult. So Agarat is the witch lady. Initially, we struggled with focusing too much on their original elements, like a demon dancing on the rooftops, but ultimately we settled on a design that fit well within the game's context. It's funny because Agarat, I know people were pointing out Agarat kind of looks like, it reminds them of like a Souls character, because she's got like a doll-like body, and then she's got the witch thing going on, so it probably reminds them of maybe like Ronnie, or some previous characters in the Soul series that had like the witch thing going on. Of course, in Bloodborne, there's a doll-like character as well, so I do like the design. Let's see, we settled on a Queen of Demons feel for her. On the other hand, we didn't have much difficulty in determining the direction for Lilith or Aishat. Is that the right translation of her name? The hag-looking, Qaditsu. the one that steals souls. Personally, the visual of Nama, who is often referred to as the demon seductress, seems especially captivating. It's the interviewer saying this. Doi says, I'm glad to hear that you find Nama visually compelling in that way. For Nama, based on Komori's suggestion that we could emphasize the demonic elements by combining beauty and acidity when we arrived at her current design. So beauty and ugliness. Interviewer says, how about the new human character Yoko? Doi says, the concept of Yoko has existed since Shin V. They said this before, but she was something that was intended for the previous work, but was not able to make it into the game for some reason. She was cut, and supposedly even in the files there was a Chaos heroine found. I've mentioned this in previous videos before, so she's technically cut content and not a re-release girl. She finally has a significant role to play, making her long-awaited appearance in the Vengeance arc. In terms of design, we aim to evoke a sense of contrast between Tao and Yoko, like Tao representing law and Yoko representing chaos. For instance, Tao wears a light blue jersey, while Yoko has a red ribbon. I also kind of brought it up too that along with the law and chaos stuff, that they kind of reminded me of the yin and yang, like they felt like they symbolized the difference between yin and yang as well, between the two of them. Although we started with the idea of chaos, when designing Yoko, she doesn't necessarily align completely with the Chaos faction. I mentioned this too, is that some of the things that she says that they have revealed so far in footage and screenshots almost feel like she's in a neutral space sometimes, like she's chaotic neutral instead of being purely chaos, with some things, her comments towards other characters and her opinions on things going on. Yoko is a unique presence compared to the other students at the Joan Academy, and how her actions and words impact the protagonist is one of the highlights of the new scenario. The interviewer says, it seems that the protagonists will also reveal different sides compared to the Goddess of Creation arc. Yeah, this is something that's covered before a lot, is that, yes, the characters' attitudes and behaviors will change drastically compared to the previous route. You'll probably see things get emotionally charged and maybe in a negative way compared to the creation route. Doi says there might be moments where Yoko's actions seem a bit over top. Yeah, over the top, such as suggesting you to kill your bullies. Telling Tao to kill, you must be willing to kill Sahori's bullies. In those instances, players will likely find themselves choosing which side they sympathize with. I do wonder, it's great if you can choose, because hopefully it's not just a false decision type of thing where you tell them a certain thing but it would kind of suck if that doesn't really impact anything towards the end, because some games do that. Okay, so I'm going over the final page here. They do mention stuff related to the new Nahobino Form, but only slightly, because they can't spoil too much. Interviewer says, I'm also curious about the new form of the Nahobino. Is there anything you can tell us at this stage? Doi says, well, since it involves a core part of the story, anything I say may end up being a spoiler. However, I can tell you that we consciously designed the new form to have a different atmosphere from the previous Nahobino. Please look forward to discovering the context behind this new form within the story. And the interviewer laughs. Alright, now that you've drawn a new cover illustration for us, the choice of demons seems quite deliberate. So, I might be able to show a tweet of it from the Atlas Japanese account. I'll show it here in the video, but the illustration they used was like Azumo. It was an Azumo theme, so a lot of demons from the Azumo lore and mythology. So you'd have like Susanoo, Kushinada, Take Mikazuchi? Minakata. No, it's Take Minakata. Okuni Nushi, the Nahobino himself, who's supposed to represent Susanoo. So it's Azumo related demons. And Amata Nozako, which isn't, she's not Azumo related, but she's still tied to Susanoo. She came from Susanoo, so I guess it's still related. And that's the illustration that they used for the cover of this magazine as well. And they also made some merch related to it too, using the illustration. Doi says, this time we focus on demons related to Susanoo. Since Megaten is a game about cherishing demons, we thought players would enjoy forming parties with their favorite demons. So we wanted to suggest this kind of lineup is also an option. Yeah, I would say, I have used, in terms of the demons shown here, I think I used Kushina, at least in Nocturne. I feel like I used these particular demons more than I did in 5. Akuna Yushi I do like with the skills he has. Take Minakata is a favorite of mine. I do like him a lot. Kushinada, she's okay. I know I've used her earlier game in Nocturne at least. Amanazako I kind of use, but not like a whole bunch compared. There are other demons I like way more. So, I mean, yeah, you can make theme parties if you want, but I don't know. For me, it just depends on their build. Build determines like what I use in the party and when I happen to get them at the time. So, I know that like in game 5, if I think about the kind of demons I used, it was a cross between a bunch of snake. I think I had a lot of snake lady demons. And what else did I use? I had stuff like Beelzebub and like Sandalphon. Definitely had Mara. Angyoki. So some of the Onis. I definitely remember just having a lot of snake lady demons though. The snake ladies are good. The snake waifu demons. They're very useful. Let's see. Interviewer says the package visual featuring Nahobino and Qaditsu exudes a unique allure typical of this game. Doi says, regarding the painting style, when I drew the cover illustration for, I will not mention the magazine's name, just to be safe, during Shin Megami Tensei 5, the combination of anime shading and watercolor boundaries using watercolor-like edges at the color borders was well received. Yeah, I noticed for a lot of the promotional art that he's done for Shin Megami Tensei 5, it's more like a flat coloring instead of the rendering, like the shading that's generally used for the concept art of the demons for the game. So for the promotional illustrations, it's just like flat colors, which they probably refer to as anime style coloring and shading. He says, so we incorporated that style into this work as well. Additionally, there's a particular focus on the composition of the illustrations, on both the package and the cover. The characters' gazes are directed towards you, the viewer. A game is completed not just by the characters within it, but also by the players. The story of Megaten is shaped by the choices made by the players. We wanted to create a composition that feels like it's reaching out to the viewer, make them part of the narrative. And then they're doing, here's like part of the interview that's directed towards Kazuka talking about the new music in the game. It says, adding 80 new tracks to enhance the story and battles. Interviewer says, listening to the new background music, it's evident that a significant number of new tracks have been added. How did you approach composing for the Revenge of the Goddess chapter, Mr. Kazuka? And Kazuka says, while maintaining the direction of Shin 5, I aim to expand the musical style further. Instead of a purely logical approach, I focus on more intuitive process thinking. I can't quite explain it in words, but this scene needs this kind of music. I often created based on this intuition first. Yeah, this is, so I can kind of relate to this. I do create music myself, even though it's not as frequent. And, it's not as easy for me to get in the mind space to create music nowadays, but sometimes you'll just look at something and a certain type of music or theme will come into your head, especially if you're someone that creates music. So I could probably relate this and go like, oh, well, this scene is happening automatically, like, you feel this kind of music would be, this sort of vibe or these sort of sounds would fit for this scenario. I often created based on this intuition first, and then reinforced it with reasoning afterwards. During Shin 5, I had some resistance and anxiety about composing based on intuition, but this time I embraced it and I think I was able to seamlessly integrate a diverse range of tracks. And I feel he did an amazing job too, because based on what we've seen from the footage that has been released so far, there are some amazing tracks. Like, especially for, like, I think my favorites, I like how chaotic the tracks sound, with you know, on top of like the musical skill that he already has, like his abilities. Like I love the mixture of sounds and how chaotic they are and how they fit for the battles, especially like Qaditsu, and of course there was something released for Mara's track as well, which is like really crazy and funky and chaotic, and I fucking love the way it all comes together. And of course a lot of these tracks incorporate I feel like a certain sense of nostalgia for like the classic SMT style music, like from the older games. There's a little bit of that like injected too, so that's all mixed together with the new stuff. Interviewer asks, did Mr. Komori make any specific requests regarding the new tracks? And Komori says, the music in Shin 5 was all fantastic, and Kozuka kept proposing the necessary tracks based on the game's content, so I mostly felt comfortable leaving it to him this time as well. However, since the Qaditsu is a very important, it says Qaditsu is a very important character, but they're very important to the plot. I specifically requested him to create a dedicated battle BGM for them right away. And yeah, the BGM for the Qaditsu is really great from what I've heard so far. Let's see here. Kuzik says he would have made it without being told by Komori. Kuzuka says, reading the scenario, I would have definitely made it without being asked. It was rare for Komori to request something upfront, so I put a lot of effort into it. The track for the Qaditsu was created by intuitively capturing an image that I felt was appropriate, based on their visual design and the role in the story. Interviewer says, with 89 new tracks, many of them are battle-related, right? Kozuka says, Shin 5 had a fair number of battle-related tracks, but this time I wanted to create as many unique tracks as possible for each boss, considering their specific characteristics. For instance, the tracks for battles with Mara and Turbo Grady turn out to be very distinctive, ones that could only have been made for those specific encounters. I'm really glad about that too. I like having like unique enemy-specific tracks. Even though I enjoy the default battle music of the game too. Interview says, the tracks for Shinjuku Dot are also quite rich in variety. Kazuka says, Shinjuku Dot gives the impression of a reversal of roles between angels and demons, and that significantly influenced my approach. I considered what situations would occur in this location, what kind of scenery would unfold, and I created tracks that reflect these diverse aspects. This allowed for a wide range of musical expressions within the same dot area, both from the scenario and visual perspectives. And then we have the final part of the interview here. New and improved demon experience awaits you. Interviewer says, lastly, could you please share a message for our readers who are eagerly awaiting the release of this game? Kuzuka says, reflecting on the music I created, I feel there was a strong focus on the protagonist and Aogami. Of course, new characters are also significant, but the relationship between the protagonist and Aogami is further explored in this game. And yes, that's been hinted at heavily in a lot of the footage that has been shown. You have the bench conversations, of course. A lot of shit happens between them. And, of course, we'll play the game and find out what happens. But there does seem to be more of a focus and elaboration on the two, which is good. Personally, I have many favorite tracks in this game, and it also includes all the music from Shin Megami Tensei 5. I hope players enjoy both scenarios and their respective soundtracks. Doi says, from the very beginning of development, we consistently aimed to create a game with a strong emphasis on demons. I believe we succeeded in creating a work filled with love for these demons. Yeah, I remember Komori mentioned that in the Spotlight video too, is that when he was thinking about what makes a Megami Tensei game, he says that demons are important. Like, they should focus on demons. Like, demons are feel like the stars of the games. Because, they do they are reoccurring. They just show up in, you know, a lot of people have their favorite demons, even from the earliest games, and they'll love to see them show back up again in later works as well. He says I oversaw various processes and approvals, witnessing each element come together beautifully. Please enjoy this game, which is packed with meticulous details and new features. Komori says, whether you're new to Shin Megami Tensei 5 or have played it extensively, we aim to create a game that can be enjoyed with a fresh perspective. I personally experienced surprising new discoveries and seen unexpected demons shine with unique skills during test plays. I hope you immerse yourself in this unique demon experience and enjoy it to the fullest. And that is the end of the interview. I hope you appreciated me going over the interview. It was very insightful, and some of the other stuff that came from the magazine that was released. I think because the amount of information that I went over and the extra editing I'm doing, I'm actually going to just include this as a separate video instead of tacking this on to the trailer, the title loop and trailer discussion video that I put out. I was going to tack this on to the end of that, but because I feel like this is pretty substantial too, and maybe you don't want to like go through that just to get through this, it might be best to separate it. And I'll also include a note about that in the other video too. But I hope you appreciate me covering this. And this will probably be these two videos, like the one where I'm watching the title loop, discussing that, and the launch trailer, and then this video here, like I said, these will probably be the final videos that I put out before Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance comes out, which is coming out on either, you know, late Thursday or Friday, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are also looking forward to playing it as well. Thank you again.